Welcome to the Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best podcast. I'm your host, Claire Thomas. I'm on a mission to support women who feel stuck, unfulfilled and disempowered to have a successful, fulfilled, soul-led life. I guide women to reawaken their unique power so they can shine their light and reach their best. Whether you know it or not, you are an incredible, unique and powerful being, and you are here for a reason. Don't let it go to waste. This podcast is designed to support and enrich the Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best self-development coaching cards. If you have a deck, then I thank you for helping me to shine my own light. And if you haven't, then follow the link in the show notes and head on over to my website to get your deck. It will be the best, most loved investment you make this year. But for now, sit back, relax, and let's work out how to shine all our lights brightly.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the first episode of season 2 of my podcast. You will notice some changes since the last one. The first is I've changed the name of my podcast to Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best podcast. You'll notice that the branding looks a little bit different, and you will notice that I am here on my own. So in this first episode, I'm going to take some time explaining to you why I've made all these changes. So where to start? I haven't scripted any of this, so I am just going to talk away and see where we get with all of this. So I've been on this journey of with reaching my best for a couple of years now. And when I started out, I felt like I had already had a company before and that I knew what I was doing and how to run a business. And whilst without being too harsh on myself, a lot of that is true, there are so many different lessons that I've learned on this last journey. And interestingly, most of those lessons have been learning about myself. And I actually reflect back on my business as an interior designer and some of the things that were challenging or in my eyes that went wrong at that time. And actually, if I'd have had the skills and the insight and awareness that I have now, then I think it would have been a whole different ballgame. But I'm not dwelling on the past. I am taking everything that I've learned over the whole of my life and putting it into this new project of mine. So let's start with the rebranding. So when I first started, I was coming from having spent a few years back in the corporate world, where everything is sort of very well structured and set up in a very specific way. And I also had the insight from having my interior design practice, and I knew what sort of brand and what sort of design I wanted. So originally I went for something that was still quite bright colours. The shapes and the lines were really simple. The designer that I had do my branding at the time, I'd worked with her before and she was absolutely brilliant. And she really nailed that brief, I have to say, when I gave it to her. And I was really, really pleased with it. But over time, I've evolved and I realize that one of the biggest lessons I've learned is when I started my coaching business, I was coming from very much from a place of doing, of being in the corporate world and striving, of aiming towards something, towards a goal, to following other people's ambitions, doing things in the way that I was told to do. And I actually think I really believed that doing was the way to achieve, to be successful. And that if I just did and pushed myself and did everything that I was asked and did it all really well, that everything would be okay. And it's really interesting to look back and see that when you realize you're not aligned with the work that you're doing, how everything does unravel, and the universe has its ways of showing you that you're not on the right journey. So that's something that has come into my awareness. And when I look back, and I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, I actually think I was suffering from burnout at that point in time. I wouldn't have wanted to articulate it as burnout. I think I saw burnout as being something where you would be very depressed, very exhausted, unable to do anything. I definitely would have felt a sense of shame if I'd have described it in that way. I knew I felt exhausted, and I knew that I was in a 6-week cycle of despair. And I know I've spoken about it before, but it was literally every 6 weeks I would come crashing down, and I would just be crying uncontrollably, not knowing why I was doing this, why I was putting myself through this, but I just couldn't see a way out. And it was only when I started coaching internally and learning those skills that I started to see that that was something that I enjoyed, that leveraged my skills, and maybe that was going to be the path out. So taking it back again to the branding when I started was very corporate looking, very, in some respects, harsh. The colors were warm, but yeah, it was quite rigid. And I think that comes from that doing mindset, the analytical mindset, the masculine way of doing things. And over the last year, I've been really working on how I can bring out my more feminine side. And when I say feminine, for me, feminine doesn't mean wearing pretty floral dresses. They're absolutely lovely and they suit lots of women. You can see that I have short hair. That's a choice. I like to be a little bit different. You'll see me wearing lots of black and lots of navy because they're colors that suit my skin tone, I believe. But I think what we're talking about when I'm saying be more in touch with my feminine side was to reconnect with that inner intuition, that inner knowing that we all have, men and women. And I really believe that over the course of my life, I was conditioned, and I'm not placing any blame on anybody for this. This is just the way that it works with society and with education and institutions, that we're brought up to do and to be analytical and to question and to think. And all of those feminine qualities of intuition and reflection, gut feeling, allowing things to be, being more creative, they, at least when I was growing up, were discarded and looked down on. It was seen to be a good thing to pursue a career that successful men had done, and for women to take their place at the table. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at all. But what I do notice is that many, many women emulate how men are in the workplace. And it doesn't have to be that way. We are all unique. We're all individual. We all have something to bring. And it's not in a woman's nature to jostle and try to speak over people, to be heard, to try to be the leader of the pack. Women like to collaborate, work with each other, not to compete. Women do compete, but I believe that's society making them compete because that's what we believe we need to do to make ourselves seen. But actually, when we're fully in touch with our feminine side and we lean on our intuition, that can be really, really powerful. And I started to delve a lot more into this. I read quite a few different books that have allowed me to learn some of the different techniques. I've been on great courses. I'm still on one of them with Caroline Britton, which is absolutely brilliant, called The Power of the Feminine. So still learning a lot from all of these things. But what I realized is that my brand wasn't aligned with who I was or who I wanted to show up as in the world. So I needed to reflect that. So you will see that my logo has changed. I keep the triangle there. The triangle is a very powerful symbol. We can go into that in another episode. But the gold color reflects some of that sparkle and magic. And you'll see even on the background to this screen, if you're watching it, the navy and those elements of gold, that little bit of sparkle, which introduces some fun there. And I absolutely, even from an interior design perspective, I absolutely love navy and gold. I think they go beautifully together. And then you can match that with lots of bright colors. So if you head on over to my website, you'll see that the navy is paired with a really bright pink, like this jumper I'm wearing today, an orange, a lovely teal, blue, add a little bit of purple in there as well, another one of my favorite colors. And I just think it gives a real magical sense to my website and to my brand. And I really am still on this same mission that has underpinned all of my work since I set out on, and that's where the name of Reaching My Best came from, is that I wanted to reach my best in my life, and I want to be able to help other women do the same thing. And of course, that doesn't mean to say I can't help men do that, but we have to have a focus, and therefore my focus is to really empower women so that they can reach their best and reach their full potential, so that they can be true to themselves and lead by example, show their husbands, partners, friends, any male friends that they have, that it's okay to be, it's okay to show our emotions, and to show our true essence, and that really is the way forward. So that's a little bit on the branding. What were the other things? So the other one was renaming this podcast to Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best. So I will again go into a different episode to explain to you a little bit more about the Shine Your Light cards. If you're curious, you can head to my website and read all about them there, but I'll give you the story of those in another episode. But the cards were really designed as a way to help women be more mindful and show them a mindful way of rediscovering themselves. And rediscovery is really important in that sentence, because our true essence is there from the moment that we are born, or maybe even before that, who knows. And over time we get conditioned and we lose touch with who we really are, and we get layers upon layers put on us of beliefs and customs and thoughts and expectations and experiences and all these things that start to bury that true essence deep within. So what the cards do, and what also all the work I do does, is help people work their way back inside so they can find their own true light, their true essence, and to find a way to make it shine brightly. Because as much as we strive in this world to copy everybody else and look up to the big influencers, and want to look and be like everybody else, and I see that with teenagers, particularly having two of my own, how they want to be in with their friends and belong by copying everybody else. That doesn't change as we grow up, but we lose touch with our true essence, and we're afraid to show people who we really are and how beautiful, amazing, and whole and complete and perfect we are on the inside. And when we believe that, we can really show up and achieve and accomplish and be whoever we want to be in this world. And for me, that's really, really important. So that was the second thing I wanted to cover off in this episode. And what else have I learned? So a little bit more on the hint about the cards was when you start a business, and I know this is true for all businesses, not just in the coaching industry, is that there are very, very many people out there who tell you this is how you should be running your business, what you should be doing, how it should like, this is the process you should follow. There are so many shoulds, and it is so overwhelming. There are so many courses that you can sign up for that promise you X, Y, and Z. And and it's really easy to get lost and disorientated and overwhelmed by all of that noise out there. And some of the lessons that I've learned over the last couple of years is, one of them is that starting your own business, it takes bravery, but it also takes patience. And, there are promises out there of growing 6-7 figure businesses in a year. And maybe that is possible for some people, but I wonder how much of what really sits beneath that how much of that they really share as their story. Do they really share the struggles? Do they really share all the things that went wrong to get them to where they are? And they are who they are. They have their own unique skills and qualities and assets and experiences that shape the way that they do things. And that formula, I'm not saying it doesn't work, it works for them, but does it work for you? And that's where I think I know that I've been a bit stuck in, and naive, I'll admit it, admitting signing up to courses and believing that by doing that course, I would be given a magic formula and suddenly, hey presto, everything would work. And it's simply not true. It takes a lot of time. It takes consistent small steps in the same direction to build a business. So that's one of the big lessons. The other is related to that, sure, there are ways of doing things, but it's about staying true to who you are, true to your essence, what resonates with you. And if any action that you take is out of alignment with who you are as a being, then it's just never going to work. It's never going to feel right. And energetically, it's almost set for failure if you do that. So I have come up with my own way to run my business, and a way that is working for me, that makes me feel whole, complete, and successful and fulfilled right now in this moment. I'm not striving towards anything. The work that I am doing is coming from a deep place of love within. And hopefully, when you work with me, when you buy my cards, when you listen to these podcasts, you'll really understand that I am speaking from the heart when I talk or when I write. So that's really important for me. It's about doing things my way. And sure, I am very happy to share my way with anybody that wants to hear about it. But of course, it will come with a big caveat of you are not me. You are your own unique, true self. So there we go. Those are some of the things that I've learned over the last 2 years. It's exciting times ahead. I have no idea where all this is going to go. I have no idea how many episodes are going to be in this podcast. I don't know what people are going to think of it, but I'm just going to keep on playing and enjoying myself, having fun, showing up as me and speaking my truth. And if you want to listen, then make sure you subscribe. I really thank you for joining me on this first episode, this relaunch of my podcast. I love doing a podcast. There will be guests in the future. There will be other topics. But for me, for the first few episodes, it's just going to be me, because I know that I'm very good at giving space to others. I'm very good at listening. It's one of my assets and skills. But to take the stage myself and to give myself the opportunity to shine my light is really important. So that gives me a hint of an episode to come up about the importance of names. So I will make a note of that, and that will be in a future episode as well. So that's it for me for this episode. I will be back again next week, and I will explain a little bit more about the coaching cards. But if you can't wait, feel free to have a sneak peek on my website. Thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful day. Keep shining your light bright.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best podcast. Your support is greatly appreciated, so please follow the show. I'd love you to like, comment and share this episode with anyone else whose light needs some help shining. I'd love to hear from you, and I'm open to having guests on my podcast. So if you would like to share your story, please send me an email to claire@reachingmybest.com or click on the link in the show notes. So for now, keep shining and reaching for your best.